Hi, friends. So, this episode was a little bit of a comedy of errors. My good microphone stopped working, so my audio is a little weird. And then I went and lost the video file. So, for those of you watching YouTube, we only have an audio file for you today. Thank you for being patient. I will do better at this. So I hope you still enjoy our voices, even if you don't get our faces this time. I'll do better next time. Hi, friends.
Hello, puppets.
Howdy, y'all.
And welcome to Muppet Sex and Trauma. I'm Sara Ezzat, creator of the Costume Codex on YouTube.
And my name is Jack Kramme. I am editor for Passion of the Nerd, Chipperish Media, and co-host of Podcast of the Nerds.
And my name is Josh Gosdin, and I'm just a big old nerd.
And that's enough. And we're here to talk about the episode Back and Back and Back to the Future, which for us is the third episode of Farscape. Although, of course, it is played in a strange order, so hopefully you watch this as the third episode. Back and Back and Back to the Future was written by Babs Greyhorsky, who only wrote this one episode of Farscape, but has a lot of writing credits to her name. Directed by Rowan Woods, who directs some of my very favorite Farscape episodes, and is known for bringing something extra to the Farscape aesthetic. And I'm kind of not sure how to sum up this plot. I'm going to do my best.
Godspeed, Sarah.
The crew of Moya happen across a ship in trouble and rescue two people in an escaping shuttle. There is the scientist Varel and his sexy alien femme fatale bodyguard Matala. The two appear to belong to a race called the Alonics, genetic cousins and allies to Dargo's people. While Dargo and John are rescuing the two from their shuttle, John is hit by some freaky green lightning, and time gets a bit, wibbly-wobbly. Dargo is immediately smitten by Matala, and eager to prove himself as a loyal Luxon to Varel. But Aaron is suspicious, and as things start to not add up, so too is Zahn. Meanwhile, John is having weird flashes to sexy times with Matala, and he's mostly just confused. Is this an alien thing? He tries to ask Dargo, but things don't go very well. Then John's flashes change from sexy times to seeing the future.
That's new.
A future where Matala kills everyone. While John is reeling from that revelation, Aaron decides to initiate a little sparring match with Matala. Sparring match with a side of internalized misogyny and slut-shaming. Aaron wins, but Matala cheats and knocks her out anyway. Back to John, who is explaining his future flashes to Zahn. She suggests he try changing things, which he does twice. Both attempts end in death, but he does along the way learn important information. That Matala is not Alonic, but one of their enemies in disguise. That the green light he touched is connected to a piece of a black hole that Varel is studying, as you do. And in an overheard conversation between Dargo and Matala, he learns that Dargo has a secret. The crime he was actually convicted of is not what he told the crew it was, but something else. Flashing back to Zahn's quarters one more time, John decides that he must get Dargo on his side, something he's finally able to do by telling him that he knows he's lying about his crime. When Dargo and John work together, they are finally able to survive, though Matala does kill Varel and take off in his shuttle. Varel survives long enough to disable the containment thing on the black hole thingy, and as Moya starbursts away, Matala and her ship implode. No longer bouncing about in time, John tries to reach out and bond with Dargo. Dargo isn't up for it, but he can at least admit that he kinda lost the plot a little with Matala. He explains,
It's just... It has been so long.
and John gets it.
Man, do I understand.
Well done. It's quite the plot to summarize there.
No kidding.
Okay, so initial thoughts?
I loved it. This is my favorite episode so far. I just think it was really well done. It's nothing that hasn't been done before it and since, but it's still really effective and well done, I think. I like how it's you don't really know what's going on until the end, and it was pretty unpredictable. Like I didn't guess, I wasn't able to accurately predict what was actually going on. And I thought Mentala had something to do with it, and it turns out she didn't. It was just kind of an accident. But yeah, I just loved it. Yeah,
I had a lot of fun with it too. I also liked the fact that I couldn't really tell where it was going or predict the plot or the outcome or anything like that. Again, other than Matala's betrayal, and the production kind of telegraphed that a little bit, but with the lingering camera shots and the sinister music. Oh. So from the beginning, I was like, all right, so this lady's up to something, but we'll see what. But I had a hard time keeping track of where we were in John's timeline. And at first it annoyed me, but then I had this moment in the scene where he's talking to Zahn and he keeps dropping the mask. I had this moment of just let go and go with it, man. And I just kind of let the ride take me where it wanted to go, and I enjoyed the episode a lot more after I did that.
The scene with the mask, how we kept dropping it, I thought the last time it wasn't going to break, and that was going to, tell us that he was going to succeed this next time, but he breaks it himself. And I'm like, all right, I have no idea what's going to happen now. Yeah, totally unpredictable. But Josh, you mentioned the music, which is something that stood out for me too. The music was so good. I really liked it. The whole episode kind of feels like a horror movie in a way.
Yeah.
And the music really adds to that. And I think because I'm a horror fan, I think that's why it really appealed to me. And even the flashy scenes, the flash forwards or whatever we're going to call them, were really eerie and creepy and shocking even. There was the scene, I was genuinely shocked when we see Mentala kill Dargon Crichton. And that happens several times, even though I know that then they're not really dead because of the nature of the episode. I was like, whoa, they went there. They actually did it. Wow. Those sequences were just done really, really well, I think.
Mm-hmm. As originally written, they were going to play it more straight, and particularly the sexy flash forwards were going to be played as titillating. But apparently it's the director, Rowan Woods, who was like, no, let's play it as weird and unsettling.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, because the first couple, I'm like, this is kind of sexy, but I'm like, wait, no, this is also kind of threatening. What's going on here? I wasn't sure of what I was supposed to be thinking. Was I supposed to be thinking this is kind of hot or this is kind of messed up? But I guess both. But then it becomes much clearer as the episode goes on that this is not a good thing at all.
For sure.
Should we reverse and sort of start at the beginning of the plot where we have these...
Sure. Where does it begin?
Yeah.
Well, we have these this new alien race we're introduced to, the Alonics, the very tentacly people. What did you think of Mentala and Varel?
I mean, Varel, fine, cool, but Mentala, oh my god, steals every scene she's in. Played by Lisa Hensley. She's just so good. Steals every scene. She has this really this surrealist kind of trance-like vibe about her. She reminds me of Drusilla from Buffy.
Oh,
Yeah. Very, very similar. But I loved every scene she was in because she was just that good. It was really dialed up, and usually that doesn't work, but it works here.
No, it was dialed all the way up, and every time she was on screen, I just kept thinking I was uncomfortable in my own living room every time she was on screen.
You weren't able to rest and revitalize.
I don't even know. Did she blink ever?
Right? And her eyes were rather serpentine. I don't know. It was and of course the makeup and the prosthetics again really, really good. But that's what this show does really, really well. I'm not so surprised anymore. I just know it's always going to be great.
I'm not sure about Varel's prosthetics.
Yeah, the face tentacle things. Yeah.
It was a little. It didn't quite work for me. That.
Okay.
I don't know. It looked too rubbery. That's a nitpick. That I'm like, that hers worked.
Yeah.
I mean, she has that performance, but Varel is like the serious scientist with the tentacles that look very, very rubbery. Was just not quite. Yeah.
He looks like he'd fit in on the set of like A New Hope or something like that, you know, like old school like sci-fi. But I also loved the connection between the Ilonics, is that what they are? And the Luxons, because like that's the first thing I thought of, and I'm like, hey, they kind of look like Dargo, kind of. And I think I said this last time, but I'll say it again. I love that they're building their own universe, and they're really like they're putting a lot of detail into it, like just with stuff like that. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I definitely agree. All of the prosthetics so far, they're really, I guess immersive is the best word for it for me. You know, I feel like I'm in this world rather than watching this world, if that makes sense. And so, the props and the prosthetics and everything all works together really well. And I noticed the difference, too, between Varel and Matala, but I actually thought that they were trying to convey, like, age.
Oh.
That, like, maybe his were a little bit different because he's kind of an older guy. But then also, without knowing what a Scorvian actually looks like, maybe hers were different because they were fake. Like, in universe, they were fake, you know? But yeah, no, I had a lot of fun with the episode. Kind of, like I said, once I let go, because I definitely spent a large chunk of the episode trying to figure out how everything was working, and then I just stopped.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it went from it happened to him every once in a while to he seemed to be able to modulate it and control it a little bit when he was with Zahn and kept dropping the mask.
Ah, yeah.
But the pivot from it was happening to him to he was making it happen, I missed. And then I was just kind of like, you know what, whatever. It's happening.
Yeah.
Did you catch, you're totally missing a Star Trek thing that this very similar plot has happened to someone else.
I was thinking about that. I've seen that in episode, and I have no idea what one it was called, but you guys would. It's the one where Dr. Crusher ends up as like the last person on the ship, and everybody's like, that's what it made me think of. Is
Not
that what
the
we're
one I was
about?
thinking of. I was thinking of Josh. Who is the most important person in the galaxy?
Chief O'Brien, obviously. No, yeah, it was big. What is that one called?
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but there's an episode of DS9.
Oh, okay, yeah. I just thought of that Next Gen episode.
There's a Next Gen episode where the Enterprise keeps blowing up, and
there's that too.
Yeah.
That did Groundhog Day before Groundhog Day existed. But then this other one that Sara's referencing is from Deep Space Nine, where Chief O'Brien actually also gets zapped by a quantum singularity, and he keeps jumping forward and seeing. He doesn't just see disasters, he also sees himself, which is kind of... John's consciousness was moving forward, but Chief O'Brien was physically moving forward. And I think I liked the consciousness moving forward angle a little bit better, because it gave more of the impression that it wasn't John moving so much as it was time moving. Like time was moving around him back and forth, you know?
And we have no idea what effect a quantum singularity would have if you could put it in that ship.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
We'll just pretend you can.
And the way the time distortion stuff was done also reminded me of that Buffy episode. I think it's Dead Things in season 6.
No, Life Serial.
Oh, it's both.
Like no, not that one. It's there's Life Serial, but it's also the one where the trio are trying to make Buffy think that she killed Katrina or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Spoilers for Buffy.
Yeah. Yeah, God damn it, sorry.
That's two.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of stuff it reminds me of, but it's still done really well and it doesn't really feel like derivative or anything.
No. Playing with the same tropes, but in a different, in its own way. I mean, I don't think any of them involved sexy times with weird aliens.
No, that's like, it's funny going into this. I honestly thought I was going to see something that reminds me of Star Trek and Star Wars and just like all of the other sci-fis, but this touches on themes that the others don't, like the sexy stuff and I mean, our show is called Muppet Sex and Trauma, so I'm sure there's some heavy stuff coming. And I kind of like that. Cause look, you guys know I have an appreciation of Star Trek, but I'm not a huge fan simply because I find it a little straight-laced. There is some cool philosophy in it, but it's a little straight-laced for me. But I like this. It seems to be touching on, I don't know if we can call them darker themes, mature. But a little more... Yeah, mature. Yeah, that's a good word for it. Yeah.
Well, you haven't seen DS9 yet.
Oh, okay. Well,
it's
no,
called Visionary, by the way. Season 3 of Deep Space Nine, Visionary. I just remembered it.
Okay.
Aha, there we go.
Like from the get-go, when they flashed forward to, this is one of the things that I had to let go of because they never actually, like they kept flash forwarding to John and Matala's sexy times, but that never actually came to pass. And also, like within the plot of the episode, I missed that pivot point too. Like, where did he turn away from that branch?
Yeah. Come to think of it, like it's almost like that was just like a hallucination or something. I don't know.
Well, so and I would imagine it was probably the point at which he started running around going, something weird's going on. Is it alien pheromones? Like when he started, that was cracking me up, by the way. When he runs up to Dargo and starts running through all the sci-fi tropes, and Dargo's like, "What the hell are you talking about, man?" But the sexy times flash forwards between him and Matala were genuinely unsettling. I never got sexy vibes. I got like sexual assault vibes the entire time.
Like literally the first like sexy time flash forward album was like, oh, what is that? But then it becomes like obvious pretty quickly that it's not like. Yeah, it's not good. It's not fun. It's not sexy. Yeah.
Bad times.
But I still found it, initially I found it a little hard to read though, because I just wasn't sure. Because like, he seems to be enjoying himself, but then very quickly you'll realize, no, wait, this isn't fun for anyone. Or maybe Matala, but that's still not good.
I was thinking about everybody's reaction to John. I'm particularly fond of that scene where he flashes back and he needs to get some air. And Zahn and Aaron's response to, like, we have air in here.
Oh.
Yeah, that cracked me up. I laugh when Aaron goes, "There's air in here. What is he talking about?"
Yeah, he is Cratton. Let's talk about Dargo for a second.
Okay. Let's talk about Dargo.
Dargo, he kind of bugged me again in this. I really can't stand characters that are so like blinded by tradition and like lineage and just all that silly stuff, and that's how he kind of comes across in this. Towards the end, I think we have a little bit of a breakthrough with him, but he's all just like, the Luxons and the I keep forgetting what they're called, the other people. Like he's yes, that word. No, he just seems so wrapped up in their allegiance and all that stuff. I'm like, dude, like you can see she's bad news. Like, come on.
I don't think it was the allegiance that was blinding him to that.
Well, that's true. He was getting all hot and bothered too. But the allegiance was part of it, and it just, I don't know. I think it's just a pet hate of mine when characters do that in media. But Yeah.
Yeah, from my perspective, Dargo was definitely thinking of this dick the entire episode. And up to and including trying to measure with Crichton and being like, no, she's mine. And Crichton's like, no, she's bad for everyone. But yeah, Dargo, whatever Dargo did up until this point, in terms of the actual crime that got him imprisoned, which I don't think we know. We don't know the real thing yet, do we? Okay.
No. When John said, like, you didn't tell us the truth of what you did, and I'm like, wait, did they say that? Do I have to go back? Didn't I miss something? Yeah.
Something related to some kind of betrayal or treason or something like that. Like based on the vibes in this episode of him trying to, it seemed like he was trying to prove himself to be the most Luxon dude ever Luxoned. And that was, it was the same, kind of like blinded by tradition mentality that took him over, and why he was willing to so be led by his other head and all that kind of stuff. And at the very end, when he told Crichton, it's been a long time, Anthony Simcoe and Ben Browder, they played that scene with a lot more gravitas than I would expect a scene where two guys were like, man, I haven't gotten some in a while. So that's not what I think that they were actually referring to. Or at least that's not what Dargo seemed like he was referring to. It seemed like Dargo was referring to the fact that it was a long time since anybody had, I don't know, trusted him or cared about him or counted on him or something other than it's been a while since he's gotten laid.
It made me think of the way that single people talk about being in the pandemic. We may say, oh, it's been a while, but it's more than... Yeah, there's a companionship and a whole, I think there's a whole unspoken loneliness there for Dargo and for John. That they aren't speaking because, boys.
Yeah, that was the moment right at the end there where I was like, oh, I'm sorry, Dargo. I've been harsh. I'm sorry. Because I was like, no, I feel you, buddy. I feel you. No, I get it.
I kind of, I love Dargo in this episode. I think he's adorable because he's just so hopeless. He's trying so hard.
He's very much, it was giving me boy pretending to be man vibes again. All the way back to the premiere when he tells Zahn his age, and Zahn's like, you're just a boy. And he's like, I'm not a boy. And then in this episode, he keeps trying to, I don't know, he was like somebody's boyfriend who kept trying to pick up the check at the restaurant with everybody's family. Like the way he kept running around and being like, no, the Alonics owe us nothing. And no, it's on me, guys. Don't worry about it. No, I got this. And like pulling out his wad of cash. But like it was, he was trying to be useful. He was trying to be trustworthy. So it made the scenes where Matala was stroking his ego and everything else a lot more, a lot weightier, I think. Which is why it didn't come off quite so cheesy for me as I think I was expecting it to once I kind of caught on to what Matala's game was. And I was like, oh, so she's a femme fatale. She's going to bang her way through the ship, and then, there will be a final confrontation at the end. But there was more to it than that, and I appreciated this episode for it.
Yeah, it's we said before, it's not really predictable or cliche. It's sort of, it takes what has been done before and does its own thing with it in a way, and I really appreciated that. Like I think also said earlier that I was positive through most of it that Matala was responsible for what was going on, and no, it just played to her advantage. That's all. I thought that was really well written and just well planned, I guess.
Yeah, well, she certainly took advantage of whatever she could take advantage of.
Right. And just, I know I've already said it, but my God, Lisa Hensley, so good. Like, that performance is just amazing. Loved it. Stole the show.
She was bonkers, and I was here for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I loved every scene she was in, and I was a little bummed that she dies at the end because I'm like, she was great. She was so good. Like, I would love her to come back as like a regular villain or something. That'd be so good.
Yeah, that scene where she's got Dargo up against the wall is interesting.
She reaches down and
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
but first she gave him a tentacle job.
Tentacle job. Yeah.
Can we say that on this show? How risque can we get?
We called it Muppet Sex and Trauma, and
It's in our title.
there.
Can I say tentacle job?
Yes, you can absolutely
Okay.
say tentacle job.
I have a feeling there's going to be more tentacle job. Yeah, there's going to be more going forward. I'm sure of it.
And this is like, we're still in the relatively tame, sexy stuff.
And that stuff was done so well that even I was oddly attracted to it, kind of. In like a terrifying way. In like a, I'm going to get hurt here, but I'm kind of want to see where it's going to go.
Let's see. I am both afraid and aroused.
Is scary
Yeah,
boners
yes, they
a
are.
thing?
Yes, they absolutely are. 100%.
It is now. This show so far is going to be complicated feelings and making me question what I'm attracted to or what I'm into, because the blue lady and now alien lady that's kind of like a Klingon. I don't know. Like, what is wrong with me?
If there's something wrong with you,
Right.
there's something wrong with all of us. Not that I have a thing for Matala, but I've always had a Klingon thing, and
Okay.
I have a crush on Dargo.
Hey!
I don't see
Nice.
any flaws or problems.
We're all freaks. I'm glad.
On this show, we don't kink shame.
Yeah, we don't kink shame.
No,
kink
nope.
shaming.
That better be our model going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it, because I'm sure I'm going to be saying that a lot, because this show is doing weird things to me, man.
So
Folks out there, remember, no spoilers.
Yes, no spoilers.
Spoilers.
Let us experience the shows.
someone's going to be
you
like, "What are
did.
spoilers of my kink?" And we're going to be like, "Damn it!
And do it elsewhere.
All kinks require consent."
And I think somebody needs to teach Matala a little bit more about consent.
So the mask, the glass mask.
What does it mean, Josh? Tell us, what does it mean?
It may come as no shock to either one of you that I think it's about choice.
Oh,
It's always about choice.
it's always
yeah.
about choice, isn't it?
You don't always have a good choice.
But you always have a choice.
But you have a choice.
Ian is being summoned. He's gonna like rise up. Yeah.
He just appears behind me. Like, holy crap!
So the mask breaks 3 times. Twice because he drops it, and 1 because he deliberately smashes it. The third scenario is the one where instead of trying to divide, he tries to connect. So in the first 2 scenarios, he keeps trying to divide Matala away from the equation, or divide Dargo away from the equation, to separate people out. And he calls Aaron out on it in the third, when they're discussing the third scenario. And he's like, "No, it won't work. We can't divide them. We've got to talk to Dargo." And so in the third scenario is when he tries to connect specifically and create an emotional connection with Dargo, as opposed to. So it's kind of the difference between trying to stop doing something and trying to do something instead.
And in doing that, he's almost trying to control it more, as opposed to just storming in and trying to fuck shit
Exactly.
up.
Yeah. So it's a much more He
Yeah.
deliberately smashes the mask. It's a much more active into the scenario, and
Yeah, he's choosing.
still it still doesn't go perfect.
Yeah.
Like Varel still dies, but like it's the best outcome of the ones that they've witnessed so far, and I guess either by virtue of them jumping away from the singularity or the singularity collapsing, that's the one that they're stuck with because they don't get to try again.
That's really clever, Josh. I wish I thought of it first.
What that came after I that was in the
No.
same scene where I just like let go and I was like, all right, I don't know what the fuck is going on or why it's happening. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
enjoy this ride.
All I can say is I agree.
That would be the Farscape ethos, is I don't know what's going on, but I'm going with it.
And I usually don't like the long drawn out like mystery thing, but this was fun. This was a lot of fun. But I think it's like this episode just got me, because it did the horror thing and the music and the creepy sequences. Like, it sucked me in. Like it played me like a fiddle.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Aaron's part in the story.
Oh yeah, she sort of busts Matala as being a Scorvian.
Yeah, we've got her being very suspicious the whole time, and then she takes Matala away for some exercise. What did you guys think of that scene? / Mean Girls.
I mean, that's not specifically. I mean, it was a cool scene. Yeah, but I like. I suppose it's kind of like a commentary on, like, you know, the men being blinded by their dicks, and then Erin seeing through all the bullshit because she's not blinded by her dick or her vagina, you know, like, or whatever she has down there. I don't know. She's not human, so it could be a set of teeth for all I know. I'm sorry, that's graphic. I need to stop talking. Josh, what did you think?
I thought that the sparring scene was cheesy as heck. Like I was watching it, and you know, I was getting early Star Trek: The Next Generation vibes, where they're trying to imbue this thing that looks like, you know, a really cheesy rubber mat on a floor with, you know, mysticism and meaning and all that kind of stuff. But again, once I let go a little bit, it was like an interrogation. She wanted to get Matala alone so that she could suss her out a little bit. And I mean, it worked, and for sure it worked to the tune of Matala kicking her ass, but it worked. And so I liked, I guess, kind of that clever outcome of Erin's plans, because all Erin was doing the entire time was asking these very reasonable questions. What's in the box? That's where it unraveled for them, because they were asking these reasonable questions, and they didn't have reasonable answers.
Yeah, I have some issues with the scene.
Okay.
Like the interrogation, yeah, but the Mean Girls off bugged me. I mean, it's reasonable enough. The, like, some females can only work by attracting male after male, and your species don't do attracting males.
Okay.
I mean, it's some interesting discussion of what the gender roles are like for the peacekeepers, which is interesting, but I also like internalized misogyny much.
Yeah.
Because Erin was kind of slut-shaming.
I see what you're saying.
And, I mean, if there's a reason to shame Matala, it's for not having the clearest understanding of consent, not for trying to bone every man she comes across.
And there's also the whole being a spy and trying to kill
yeah.
Varel and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also that.
But the implication, and I think particularly I'm picking up on it because this was written by a woman.
Okay.
And yeah, women do the Mean Girls thing. There is internalized misogyny is a thing. And yeah, I've been a witness to conversations between women of, you don't know how to do anything but wrap men around you, and you don't know how to attract men, and this being but I don't like seeing it in our stories, because it's not a good thing, and I don't think that they're acknowledging. Yeah, it's some very turn of the millennium. Yeah, because it feels a little like Erin's doing the not like other girls thing, and you guys are a bit confused, and this is what I get for bringing out the gender studies stuff with a couple of guys, because you're like, I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll let the our femme aligned or feminine experienced listeners and viewers share what if they agree with me that this is a bit.
Yeah.
I just don't like seeing this, or if they, you know, saw something in it that I didn't.
Now you pointed it out, I definitely see what you're saying, though. Yeah, it kind of went over my head at first. I didn't really think much of it, but I get it now.
Same.
Yeah.
It also missed me. It missed me because by that point, Erin didn't really have any evidence that Matala jumped from bed to bed, and so the subtext that you're describing missed me because the line seemed unfounded, and so that's why I went with the interrogation thing. Like, she was sussing out her character rather than commenting on her actions. All Erin had seen by that point specifically was that Dargo was chasing after Matala. But yeah, I'd be curious to hear what other folks thought about it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like, she is interrogating her, but there's this Mean Girls aspect to it that was unnecessary.
Sure. I mean, it's not, and it's interesting too. I was thinking about I didn't realize that the writer was a woman. I didn't recognize the name as a woman's name, and I also try not to like look up production details about these episodes to stay unspoiled.
Yeah, that always happens to me, man. I get curious, like I'll Google a character's name or something, and then I'll read a spoiler. I'm like, damn it, I did it again.
You can leave that up to me. If you want to ask something, I can look.
But it's interesting, too, then, so knowing the writer is a woman, this is so far, and we're only 3 episodes in, this is so far the least sexual that Zahn has been.
Oh, yeah, totally, yeah.
Which, you know, I mentioned during premiere that sort of stuck out like a sore thumb for me, and then during Throne for a Loss that I feel like wasn't quite the woman power moment that it seemed like it was trying to be for me whenever she flashed him back. And so in an episode that's written by a woman where Zahn is not sexualized, maybe we robbed Peter to pay Paul a little bit in terms of how we're characterizing our women in this series so far.
But yeah, Sara, I agree that Aaron could have sort of pushed back against Matala and been sort of intimidating and could have like interrogated her in a way without bringing sexuality or whatever into it, you know. It could have easily been done.
When we're doing sci-fi, I think we get to choose what elements of our gendered society we portray and which we don't. This is the gender studies person coming out, of course, is you know, when we do sci-fi, it's always coded as human. So we want to explore stuff about humanity, but we also have the opportunity to choose what we show and what we don't show.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting that they are sort of setting up that gender works differently with the Peacekeepers.
Yep.
Which I think was part of what they were trying to set up here, albeit a bit clumsily, by saying that your women don't need know about the art of attracting males. It's just that it then comes into slut shaming.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. And like, regardless of what they're then trying to show, alien species and different like galaxy and all this crazy alien stuff, humanity is the only lens that we have. So of course we're going to look at it with human eyes and from a human perspective. So yeah, you can't really use any argument along the lines of, oh well, they're aliens, man. It could be totally different. Like, that doesn't work.
That is a common refrain in sci-fi fandom messenger boards that exists in the same realm as it's a product of its times. Like, we can't, neither of those, you know, are an opportunity to obscure or downplay how harmful or damaging something can be.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, to a young girl or young woman watching this in the 2000s and saying like, yeah, she kicked her slutty butt, you know, like, that's not helpful.
Yeah. Both of those excuses feel like flimsy cop-outs.
I mean, it is a product
It
of
is,
its time.
and that can help contextualize the creative decisions that were made, but it can't excuse the harmful result of those decisions.
Yeah, we can't use that as a thought-ending cliche. We have to use it as a context matters element. And the context is that slut-shaming was more common then, and thankfully less common now, and we should keep making it less common. But we still have to hold Matala responsible for having a dodgy relationship.
Right, and for being a femme fatale. Like, I'm going to be looking forward to then is when Zahn's sexuality collides with Aaron's sensibilities. I'll be looking forward to that and seeing how that plays out.
There are a lot of contrasting personalities on this show, so I'm sure there's going to be friction between quite a lot of them. Even like Rigel, he's kind of a dick, and I'm sure he's gonna piss people off. Like, even like doesn't he say in this episode, like, he sees the ship exploding and like he basically doesn't care.
Yeah,
like,
and
he laughs.
And did I understand correctly? Was he trying to eat his entire ration so that he wouldn't have to share it?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
I still love him though, and I don't know, because he's the polar opposite of me in so many ways, but I just think he's hilarious. I don't know, man. He's great.
There's something about a puppet, because
that's the thing.
You know, it's not an actor.
Yeah.
You can make them be whatever you want, and
yeah,
he decided to have a
about
food binge because he didn't want to share his rations.
I think if he was a human, you know, just an actor playing a character, I probably would find him obnoxious. But because it's this little slug puppet, it appeals to the 12-year-old boy in me. Like, it's...
I mean, he is obnoxious.
He's a 12-year-old boy.
And I love him anyway.
We kept cutting back to him in this episode, and it wasn't until, like, I think the third time we came back to him and he was gorged that I was like, wait, what? Was he trying to keep them from his food by eating all of his food?
He's got basically nothing to do in this episode. He doesn't do anything. He just...
No, he doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, he's just there for shits and giggles, really. I don't know. Again, it kind of appeals to me. I like it.
In the opening scene, he doesn't want to help the people at all.
Right.
Yeah.
He's got kind of a scarcity mentality going.
Yeah.
You know, it's about preservation of resources for him.
Very, like, self-centered.
Which, you know, he's a deposed monarch. He went from having everything to having nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So of course he's going to be in that way. But I just think he's funny. He's so funny. Yeah, and that a couple episodes ago, I think was it the first episode, the helium fart thing. That will stay with me. That was some funny stuff, man. My God, I loved it. So inventive and creative and stupid. Love it.
So the extra textual reason why we don't see a lot of him in this episode, although I think they use him very well, is for the first few episodes until, I'll let you know, actually it'll be fairly obvious when we get, they were double shooting.
Oh.
So they would be shooting 2 episodes at the same time.
Wow.
And so the puppets would get more use on another episode. But at a certain point, they realized that they weren't getting the quality that they wanted, so they switched to doing 1 episode at a time. And we will get to the episode when they do that. And it starts picking up the quality of the episodes, even though I know you guys are enjoying them already.
Yeah, I'm having a blast.
I wonder if that plays into why, because I mentioned last time how I found it a little odd how comfortable the characters are with each other, even though they've only really just met. So maybe they didn't quite know how to set that up while they were filming 2 episodes at a time.
There's a lot of getting to know each other in this episode, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. But they still have a certain familiarity, though.
Although I was finding myself, midway through when Crichton finally figures out kind of what's going on with him, and he's trying to figure out what to do about it. I was like yelling at my TV. I was like, "Tell Zahn, like talk to Zahn," because I was like, if anybody's going to believe this man's wild ramblings, it's going to be her. And then sure enough, she does when he finally sits down and they're having this nice quiet conversation, and he's like, I'm shifting back and forth through time, and she goes, "Go on," as opposed to Dargo being like, "What the hell are you talking about, man?"
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
He didn't even try to tell Aaron. But if anybody's going to believe the wild ass shit, it's going to be Zahn.
Yeah, exactly. And even when I think Aaron walks into the room when Zahn and Crichton are talking, and they mention it to her, or John does, and she's just like, "What?" Like, which is exactly how I would expect her to react, just like not believing and just like, okay.
He can barely function in the present.
Yeah, right? Yes.
All of her little roasts of him this episode were killing me.
I kind of wonder, because they kind of have this love-hate thing going on. I think they're going to hook up. I'm sure of it. It's just, it's too obvious at this point. Nice poker face there, Sara. I like it.
Yeah, really. Just absolutely stoned.
Oh, the conventionally attractive male and the conventionally attractive female. Might there be a chance that they are going to boink?
What can I say? I'm a genius.
He's really reading between the lines there.
Yeah, deductive reasoning.
This has never happened in a story before.
No. I really used my brain power to go on a deep dive there, and yeah.
And of course, the first 2 names in the credits.
I didn't realize that. I don't actually pay attention to the credits.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I believe you.
But the question is always how.
Oh, how? Yes, of course, yeah. How are they going to hook up?
And I'm not sharing.
Maybe through some Muppet sex.
Trauma, I would imagine.
And trauma.
Yeah, I guess. speaking of getting to know things, I enjoy getting to know the setting a little bit more, Moya a little bit more, this episode too. I really like the kind of asymmetrical design of the hangar bay or whatever it is that they call it being on this, like on the back half, the back quarter, instead of the front or the back. It's very organic. Once I realized where they were the entire episode, I kind of cackled a little bit because basically Varel and Matala get on board and spend their entire time in that little lab, which is directly adjacent to the hangar bay, which would be like somebody going to Hawaii and never leaving the airport. So they spent their entire time there. But then also, I actually noticed Moya's sounds before Zahn pointed it out. I was like, man, the sound design is different this episode. They're making some... It seems like unbalanced. Like they're making some weird choices. And then Zahn called it out, and I was like, oh, yeah, something's going on, And it was basically like Moya was getting sick. Like they were talking about it mechanically, of course, but it was like...
Nice, man.
They treated it like Moya was getting sick. And so that's what I've been waiting for about this living ship business of, when does it start to be a living ship? So far it's just been a ship. And then this episode, Moya gets a fever.
I do like the interior design of the ship. It's got this sort of dark graininess to it, as opposed to like in a lot of sci-fi, like the interior of the ship is always like sleek and smooth and clean and all that. This is just kind of like grimy. It looks like the walls haven't been washed, and it's lots of like browns and stuff. And I just like that. It looks like a place where people live. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not surprising at all that I love the design. I've always loved the design from Moya. The fact that from the outside she kind of looks like a whale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
Yeah, like that she has this sort of, whale look, and then Pilot has a sort of crab-like aesthetic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right.
You get the clamshells, and then everything is sort of wonderfully like rib-like, and it's metal, but it's and it's this particular bronze kind of look, and I love it.
I love it. So instead of sailing, space as an ocean is a pretty common trope. So instead of sailing through the stars, they're swimming through the stars. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty. There was also like, I mean, in terms of what we've seen so far, this was a pretty CGI heavy episode, kind of. And even though it didn't look great because it was 1999, I still appreciate that they tried and they went there. They didn't like. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think this was pretty original in 1999, and like, I don't know, how would you figure out how to make it look like a ship is imploding?
Yeah, and like if it was a singularity, a black hole, it wouldn't have any color. It wouldn't be glowing green. But how do you show blackness, not nothingness? You have to show it somehow.
Maybe it was the containing thingy majiggy that was green.
There we go. We solved it. Done.
We don't know what a black hole containing thingy majiggy is.
Exactly.
What that might look like.
There we go. Done. Solved.
One of our lovely commenters commented about that being knocked out of the premiere of being a little bit with the whole Crichton somehow does math. Like, what kind of math could he possibly do? And I'm like, magic math.
Yeah. Because he comes across as a bit of a meathead, preppy kind of, like a... You know what I'm trying to say, right? Kind of a dude bro kind of. I find it hard to believe sometimes that he's this like really smart scientist. It kind of, those two elements don't seem to mesh in my head, even though that's probably a very narrow way of thinking.
A lot of what Crichton is actually does come from Ben Browder.
Okay.
He is a big nerd himself, even though he looks like that.
Yeah.
He looks like that.
Okay. Yeah, it's not really, like, I don't say that as an indictment of the character or it'll just be like sometimes he'll come out with some sciencey babble, and my brain will be like, "Oh, that's right, you're a scientist." Like, yeah, I just kind of forget because you're not used to seeing in media. We don't really see those two elements coming together. You know, the kind of like a dude bro and the scientist. You know,
The hot scientist, yeah.
Yeah, the hot scientist.
I am waiting for there is a particular character that comes along that I shall call John's Leather Pants.
Oh, is this going to be like a data lore kind of thing? Or?
No. It's just, it's a particularly fine piece of costuming to find the exact right leather pants.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I look forward to it, I think.
For those of our audience who appreciate a fine male gluteus.
That means butt.
Yeah, we already said tentacle job.
Yeah, I mean, we're not being precious here.
I wasn't being precious. I was having a bit of fun. So, is it time we talked about our favorite part?
I think it is, Sara. I just like everything with Metala in it. I don't know. All those scenes are so great. But look, if I had to pick a favorite scene, it's one of the flash forward scenes, the one where Dargo stabs Crichton in the stomach with his sword. Because that I was like, whoa! Like, that really shocked me. That's all just every scene with Metala in it because she's just great and she steals the show.
So we were talking earlier about Ben Browder and John Crichton. You know, he's a scientist, he's a geek, but he's also a studly manly man looking kind of guy. And there was a point when he was talking to Varel, and he was asking him what's the thing, and Varel was like, "Well, here's the thing. It's a piece of a quantum singularity." And Ben Browder took it in his performance in a direction that I wasn't expecting and I was genuinely moved by. He mustered up tears as Varel was describing the quantum singularity to him. And he was like, "It's a piece of a black hole?" And he was like on the edge of weeping. And I was like, that's a scientist. That's how a scientist would react to something like that.
Now I'm like,
and then he did
real,
he twisted it,
lay it on me,
and he was like, "You managed to harness one of the most powerful sources of energy in the universe for a weapon," and he was like so disgusted with Varel, and I was like, "That's a scientist. That's my guy right there." I loved that whole exchange.
Very cool scene. Yeah. I guess Crichton is a good scientist. I don't know, because that scene was really good. It's just I just often forget he's a scientist, but clearly he is. Because I agree that is exactly how a scientist would react to that.
Yeah, they're just holy shit. And you want to make it a weapon?
Which is, I mean, that's such a human thing. Like, of course, I'd make it a weapon. Like,
yeah, that was big, like nuclear arms race commentary right there.
People are great. Yay, humanity!
That's actually the theme of Star Trek: Deep Space Nine. It's the sentiment sarcastically.
Okay. I like that.
But also not. I was watching Take Me Out to the Holosuite with some folks last week. Because in Star Trek and in Farscape, I think there is also people are great and silly.
Very silly.
People are many things.
People are very silly, especially the people in this podcast. My
especially
God.
the people on this podcast.
Yeah.
My favorite bit is we have air in here.
Yeah.
He is Crichton. That's my favorite bit. Okay, so that's our favorite bit, and of course, audience, we'd love to hear from you what your favorite bit is as well, or any of your thoughts. If you are offended by me admiring Ben Browder's workout routine, I can stop doing that.
Not the
And-
squats.
And if you're a little creeped out by my attraction to Matala, just like I am, let me know.
And I don't think I have a disclaimer.
Yeah, I mean we are still forming what this podcast is. We're not going to change who we are, but what this podcast is, is open to evolving.
Yeah, it's still early days, and we're still finding our feet. But yeah, we'll get there, I'm sure.
And we have social media for our podcast. We have a Discord that if you join us on Patreon, you will get added to automatically and get pretty green color.
Yes.
'Cause
And
we
you'll
have a
find
Patreon.
all of that down in the doobly dacker below.
But you also don't have to be a patron to join our Discord if you want to come chat with us. And we also have a Twitter and a Facebook page where you can find information about our podcast. And if you're listening on audio, we have a YouTube channel version which is usually a little longer, and you can see our silly faces. So yes, you can find us in those places. You can support us on Patreon if you like. There are 3 tiers. You can, for $1 Canadian, you can be one of Rigel's subjects. For $3 Canadian a month, you can be one of Dargo's warriors, or for $5, you can be one of Zon's clerics. There are no distinct rewards for each tier yet. You just get to choose your character. We will be thinking of some benefits at some point. We're talking about recording live reactions to a couple of the episodes. So, time to shamelessly promote stuff.
Make it so.
Yes.
Jack?
Oh, if you would like to connect with moi, you can find me on Twitter at lack of surprise 1. That's all one word with the number 1 at the end. And you can find me on a podcast to do with my friend Ian from Passion of the Nerd. That is called Podcast of the Nerds.
I don't have much out there. I do have an Instagram. You can find me at Josh Gosdin. And so far, it's just pictures of food and discussions of self-care.
And wonderful pictures of food. I've been there. I follow him. Go and check it out. It's good. It's good fun.
Thank you.
And I am Sara Ezzat. I am on Twitter at BlueStalkinSara, BlueStockin SARA, or at YouTube at the Costume Codex. Yeah, that's me. I make videos about costumes and meanings and sometimes other stuff.
She makes wonderful videos. Go and check them out. They're informative, and they will make you reconsider the importance of costumes, because my God, I've learned so much.
Very well researched.
Very.
Oh, boys, you're so sweet.
You're amazing, Sara, and we love you dearly.
Well, I love you too dearly. And in 2 weeks' time, we will be recording IET. That's the letters. I for Instagram, E for
Email.
Which
T
we
for
also
Twitter.
Tweet.
Yay, we did it.
Yes, IET, as in I extraterrestrial.
What even is this episode, y'all?
So yeah, there's no particular warning or anything disturbing in this next coming episode. It is IET. IET is next, and then Exodus from Genesis.
Sweet.
Totally.
So we will see you again in 2 weeks. That's it from 3 rather sleepy nerds.
Take care, friends.
it breaks 3 times. I beg your pardon.
That was my phone. Hey, it might be Ian.
You're living with literal monsters and demons.
Well, it is Australia.
No, for real. I can't move to Australia ever. Your spiders are the size of dinner plates.
I mean, I'm still
you're
alive,
bad. Look at
so
your beard.
you might be okay. Thanks, man. Look at your beard and your face, and just I like it all. I like what you got going on there, man.
This is the, I don't know what
Watch
portion
Josh
of the,
and Jack
I don't
flirt
know
with
how we
each
got
other
here.
this
variety hour.
is the bromance
I
section
don't know
of
how we got here,
the.
but I think it's Matala's fault that we got here, honestly.
Yes. One day, Josh, you and I are gonna meet in person, and we're gonna hug
gonna
it
be the
out. We're just
best
gonna
hug.
just big manly hugs,
Yes.
man. I'm so looking forward to it.
I am a hugger, like 100%.
Me too. 100% hug. Like, I will hug anybody, like guy, girl, old, like whatever. Just hug me. Let's
This
just
pandemic's been so
yeah.
rough.
Let's. I know, right? Like, I was a hugger beforehand. Now I'm like
Yeah.
a real like. Lay it on me.